The next item is item 16, the Ricketton Bush Trust, and we've got Bob Shearing, Bob Lynham and Shona Willis with us, and my apologies for keeping you waiting for some time. I understand that we've got a short 5-minute presentation. There will be an opportunity then, if there are any questions, to have those asked and answered, and then receiving the half-yearly report and dealing with the resolutions. So over to Linda, first of all, in case there are any comments from our own staff, and then over to the Trust. Linda.
So I was just going to have the report taken as read. Just noting Council provides funding to the Ricketton Bush Trust.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. So now we'll hand over...
Receives or generates...
Oh, sorry. We lost sound completely. You might want to go back. You might want to rewind by about 30 seconds. All right. That's all right. It looks as though we might have lost Linda, unfortunately. Shall we move on directly then to the presentation from the Trust, and then we can come back to Linda later. So handing over to the Trustee Representatives, the Trust Representatives, over to you.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to meet you all again, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. With me today, myself, Bob Shearing, I chair the Trust here, Bob Lynham, who many of you know from council days some years ago, and also with me is Shona Willis, our manager. And so, as I say, thanks for the opportunity to be here. We certainly want to talk about our bush enhancement project, which the slide's all about. But just really briefly, just to thank you for your funding over many years, and particularly in the time that I've been involved. Your annual grant is always appreciated, and that goes towards costs and general maintenance. But more importantly, the project funding that we put up every year, we do appreciate that funding. Number of things this year. One of the main ones was those of you that are familiar with the house. We've got two water tanks that date back to very early days when there was no reticulated water supply. For recent years, they've been basically decoration, but they're a huge part of the history of the building. And so we spent a considerable amount of money this last year on upgrading those, because the tanks are basically empty, so they were sitting up there with no water in, so there's a bit of danger there, but they've all been strapped down, the posts have been rebuilt. So that's one of the major projects. It's just, I say, it's all artificial, but it's part of the history of the place. Shona, what other projects have we done this year?
We upgraded our outside toilets. We put new carpet downstairs, and we've also had to put in a whole new water supply. The water supply first went in the early 1960s and had corroded out, so we had to get that fully replaced. So all those things cost quite a bit of money.
Thanks, Shona. You see, we've got a continual program of upgrading the place. This year, as part of the annual maintenance, the whole house is going to be repainted, and that starts in April. From April onwards, you'll see scaffolding around the house, and it's expected to take about 3 months to get that done. So that's a 10-year rolling project, and we look forward to that being done this year. Obviously, cash flow has been a challenge this year with COVID restrictions the last couple of years, but we're pretty proud of the way that we've managed to see it through with our own staff and our contractors on site here. We've been able to match the required funding that council has also put up to be able to do those projects. Just briefly, Bob, you were going to talk to the report.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't going to go into any detail about the finances, but we've looked at the report that Linda has prepared, and she's given you a good analysis in the report, so I won't go into the detail of that. But we know that you've made some recommendations for some changes to our statement of intent, and we're very happy to support those. We think they're sensible. We will need some help from the council particularly in relation to the carbon neutral request, as we don't have any expertise there. We think we've got a lot more trees than we have equipment. We've really got one truck and one lawnmower, but we're happy to get advice from the council and to put some comment about improvement and reporting on that in our final statement of intent. Also, we'll put in how we are contributing to the council's community outcomes. We've already put in place quite a lot of equipment and work to gather statistics about the participation of the public and the visits that are here, so we'll be able to report that regularly to the board, so we'll be able to incorporate that into our future reports for the council.
Thank you, Bob. Just quickly moving on to the slide that's in front of you. We're really excited about our new project, and we're just at the stage we're about to officially announce this project and get it underway. But you're all aware, obviously, of the bush here, the 7 hectares of remaining podocarp forest with its predator-proof fence being less than 200 metres away from Ricketton Mall. A very unique piece of bush, and it's got a huge history, and we're keen to continue with that. Originally, the project was brought out of just simply having to upgrade the track. As any of you have used it will know, it's quite old. Bumps and hollows, trip hazards and what have you. It's not very accessible for people with disability. Fire department have even suggested that we need better service within the bush to be able to contain any fire that did break out. And also, given that we started thinking about this project, what more could we do to make the bush more, enhance the bush? And we've got some management goals. One of them talks about enhancing the indigenous flora and fauna of the bush, and enhancing the Mahingakai and the Pionga species. We also talk about encouraging public interest and use and participation. So, as you know, the bush is already protected with the fence, but what more can we do to make more use of the bush? We're very lucky. We've got Professor David Norton, who's recently retired Professor of Forestry at the university, on our board, and him along with the range of already providing educational facilities for schools, university students, and many of our visiting groups and people who want to know more about what's going on in the bush. We believe that with the right facilities and spaces and education possibilities around, there's so many possibilities that the bush can offer, and we'd like to be able to increase those. To support us in furthering these opportunities, and after a selection process, we engaged landscape architects Tamo Marsh. They, along with Matapuri, who we already had a relationship with, have developed a high-level master plan showing what we hope to do with the bush. And in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the front page of that report, which the board, or Tamo Marsh, undertook several sessions with the board, as well as some public consultation to be able to produce that report. What is it, 24-page report? And so very comprehensive. It's very much a high-level one, doesn't include any of the structural detail, but it's more about, as I say, more about how can we increase the use of the bush and make more of it. The board has adopted that high-level plan. It is now in the hands of the planning company Plans, I think, is it? We're hoping that to see that, or to put it to council later this month or early next month for a resource consent. Just very briefly, the plan not only includes those practical issues that we mentioned above, also looks to increase teaching spaces in the area, shelter to enhance relaxation spaces, along with a new entrance area recognising the Dean's family and their contribution to the bush. Within the new entrance area, we're also going to include a Waharoa, recognising the first human inhabitants of the bush and throughout the bush, the Maori interpretation will be greatly enhanced. As I say, the detailed structural plans are still to be produced, but initial estimates have got the project at about $1 million. Planning those costs to date have been covered both by contributions from council project funding and our own costs. As you'll see in the report, we've recently collaborated with Christchurch Foundation to manage a fundraising campaign, and that campaign hopefully will kick off in early May, and at this stage we're planning a function to announce that launch and announce the project. So just in closing, the Trust is really excited about this project. It's a major opportunity to encourage visitors to Christchurch from Christchurch, wider New Zealand and overseas to visit the Trust and bush. In doing so, we intend to show them the immense biodiversity in the bush and learn about the early Maori life in the region. And of course, never to be forgotten is a huge contribution and the amazing foresight that Jane Dean showed when she saved this piece of bush. So, Mr. Chairman and councillors, we do look forward to your continued support and trust that hopefully you'll collaborate with us in this huge project that we're looking forward to. So, thank you for that.
Thank you very much indeed for the presentation. Are there any questions for the Ricketton Bush Trust, realising that questions are the only thing and the resolution are the only thing standing between us and lunch at this stage? Are there any questions at this time? Yanni.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. Just one very quick question from me is how much does Christchurch New Zealand work with you to promote this as a tourist attraction, or marketing it as an important civic asset for the city for people to enjoy?
We're a member of Christchurch New Zealand, and we're also part of their film catalogue, so anyone coming in goes through them first. We're invited to just about all their things. We're actually on their website, so the relationships, we're small, but the relationship with them is really good.
Excellent, thank you. No further questions. All right, so we've got a resolution in front of us to receive the half-yearly report, to approve the increase in the capital grant, which is laid out obviously in the report, and note the statement of intent. The comments obviously that we'd like the Trust to consider in the final statement of intent have been noted in the presentation, and we note the support for that. And I'm working on the assumption that the advice that's going to be requested from council around the matters raised will be able to be dealt with in a collaborative way. So I'm happy to move the resolutions that are in front of us. Do I have a second?
I say back regarding this one. I say back this one.
Yep, we've noted your conflict, Jimmy, already. So I'm just looking for someone to second the resolution at this time.
Yeah.
Sam McDonald, is there any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you, and thank you very much indeed to the representatives of the Trust once again for joining us today and for the presentation, and once again apologies for keeping you waiting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that now brings us to 1:30. We will adjourn for